I am glad to be here again for another week. We have an exciting show going on this week with lots and lots of viewer questions. I've got, collected, went through tons and tons of questions, and I am just excited about it. I would encourage anyone to add your questions to the channel. I'm always taking live questions in a live stream. It is always live chat. I have noticed I have a few holes in me today. I'm sorry about that. The cool green screen effect is kind of allowing you to see through my green leaves on my shirt. So no big deal. I'm just going to go with it today. It's not that big of a problem, and I hope you don't mind. Um, let's get started though. I do have quite a bit of questions to get through today. So I'm going to jump right in, and please, if you have a question, please just put it in the channel. I think I've got all the pop-ups and chat stuff working this week. So we're going to start off with the first question I got from Sarah M. Ask, why do my views drop after the first 24 hours? And this is actually a relatively uh, routine case that happens on YouTube. What I've noticed with a lot of videos, and keep in mind that this is all statistical analysis from my perspective. That's my background. So I look at things from a little bit different perspective, from what would YouTube algorithm be doing that would cause the views to drop off like that. And typically the way I look at the algorithm is it's a small series of tests. And let's say that they're going to test your video to 2,000 users, and they put out the content. And depending upon the other content that's running, sometimes this may take seconds, an hour for them to put it out to, let's say, those 2,000 users, and they get a click through and a certain percentage click on it, and they go back and they take those results and they analyze them, and then the algorithm will determine if your video is good enough. It can move on to the next level of testing. If your video is not good enough, then it may just let it stop there. And that's where you're going to see in that drop off or that stop, where it no longer does anything. And I've noticed that first phase usually takes about 24 hours. Now, in some cases, that 24 hours, if they don't have enough, I'm going to call it inventory. In other words, they don't have enough places to put your video. They do want to complete the test. So it may take the full 24 hours and you see a consistent small uh, rise of views throughout the whole 24 hours. And then maybe the second test just automatically starts and goes on from there. Sometimes you're going to see this huge spike where it just goes straight up to the top. They show it to a whole bunch of people in a few hours. And then as soon as those few hours are over, boop, it stops and everything goes away. My suspicion, this is what's going on, is it's determined that your content isn't appealing enough to move on to the next phase of the test. And that's why you see it stop there. Now, had they determined it was, sometimes it takes the end of the test, whether that be a 24-hour period or a 48-hour period, however long that is. I call this the calm before the storm. And this calmness is the time between the excess inventory that it had, was able to get yours out faster than it caught, and the time where it determines that it's got all the results and doing all the calculations. Keeping in mind that a lot of the calculations for the statistics and the things that YouTube is using isn't calculated real time as it happens. It's thousands of people viewing across the world, and those are all consolidated down into central servers, and then those are all summarized and added up, and then they have the data that they need to make the decision. So sometimes that can take a while, just as your other statistics, your view time hours may take 5 days to show how many there are. So that is the answer to that. I am going to just double check. All right. So the next question is, how important are thumbnails compared to titles? Well, that really is the $60,000 question. They're, in my mind, you probably hear 1,000 different views about this, but in my mind, they are a match set. They are equally important depending upon the viewer, the type of viewer, the type of media the viewer is using, whether it's off of a TV, whether it's off of a laptop, whether it's on your phone with no audio, whether it's a iPad or some other tablet or something like that. So it really depends. But in my mind, they are equally important. One gives them an idea of what to expect. The other one gives them a little bit more of a. And I look at it as a thumbnail tells them. I need my thumbnail to tell them in as few words as possible what the video is about, so that there is no question, and then the thumbnail to raise the curiosity, making them want to think. Not the thumbnail, the text, the title, making them want to raise the curiosity, making them want to click. And then, of course, you have to confirm that in the first 30 seconds of your video and get them moving from there. So that's kind of the way I look at it. Um, and so that's really, I'm going to move this mic down just a little bit. I see that the audio is a little bit high, so I hope that's a little bit better there. Go back up just a tiny bit. All right. So that is really where we are with that one. And so I'm going to move on to question 3, which is, do I really need to niche down to grow? And the answer is yes and no. It depends on how aggressively you want to get with growing. I was just watching another YouTube enthusiast online, and she was stating that and I firmly agree with it. And is my stating really my own opinion here is it's not necessary, but if you really want to get aggressive about growing, if you really want to take it out of the hobby and get into really doing full growth, then yes, you need to niche down. You need to niche down to the point to where all the content can apply to everyone in your niche, but that you don't niche down so far that no one but 10 people care. In other words, it might be very good niche to niche into a mechanic working on cars or trucks or even motorcycles, but you don't want to niche all the way down to talking about 10 millimeter nuts, because when you niche down that far, there really isn't going to be a whole lot of people that are only interested in 10 millimeter nuts. They're going to be interested in the motorcycle and how the 10 millimeter nuts affect them, but not, that. So your niche is really super important, but you need to get the scope of your niche drawled in to where it really matches what you need, and that you're not going too far with it. And I do want to check over here and make sure I am live, and I am. Okay. And I don't see any chats, any new chats yet, so we'll just keep going here. Moving on to question 4. Natalie C wants to know, how long should my videos be for the algorithm? Um, there is a bunch of different people. So you got shorts that can be, 4, 5, 6 seconds, and you got long form videos that I've posted that are 5 hours. A lot of it depends on your crowd. My suggestion is if you're just getting started, make them between 5 and 15 minutes if you're doing long form videos. Shorts you can do, anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds, 60 seconds. Shorts are a little bit different beast. They apply to a different people. But long form videos, I would suggest that your ideal start would be somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes, and that after you start to build a relationship with your group and you start getting people on your channel, that you go for extending that watch time up, and that you can start then making videos that are longer, between 5 and 30 to 40 minutes. So and I've even seen I'm consistently making 30-minute videos now on my other channel, but on this channel, I still am keeping them trying to keep most of them to about 10 minutes. So keep them in that same niche there. So it really just depends on the crowd and the people that you're talking to and what they are interested in also. But I would say you start at 5 to 15 minutes. You stick with it until your crowd grows, and then you base it on their content. But don't make a video a certain length simply because you're out to make it that length. There should be the appropriate amount of content for it. In other words, if it's a 5-minute video, don't stretch it to 10 minutes to try to make it meet that. If it's a 15-minute video, don't cut it back to 8, because then you're going to leave things out that are important. So your content needs to be scoped to fall within that range, but it needs to legitimately be scoped to provide the good value that you want to give to everyone that's watching. Okay. The next question is Miguel from Texas says, I post weekly, but nothing's happening. What what am I doing wrong? Um, well, this is a loaded question, and it could be nothing. It could be that, as you continue to post and as you continue to improve, that YouTube is taking that algorithm and it's slowly going out and hunting down your audience. It's determining who they are, and it may be having a hard time finding it. You could be doing quite a bit wrong. If you're posting, trying to figure out what works, and one week posting about cars, and the next week posting about bicycles, and the week after that posting about traveling, and the week after that posting, a DIY about how to install an air conditioner, then you may have confused the algorithm. And then my suggestion to you is to narrow your scope to where you're asking yourself before you build a video, will every one of my subscribers want to see this video? Is this fall within the scope of my viewership? And should all of them want to see it? And then also ask yourself, the viewers that have subscribed and saw all my prior content, would they want to see it? And would a viewer that has never seen my channel, would they want to see it? And that really makes your video content expand to the point that you need to think about what's in it, so that you're not only applying to this cult group, I call it a cult group jokingly, of only the people that are loyal to you that want to watch it, but you're also not applying to only those people that are new and giving nothing to the people that have subscribed to you. There needs to be a very good balance of content that is fresh, that the people that have been coming and watching all of your videos want to see, but also content that is new, uh, and fresh enough for people who've never been to your channel. So it really needs to be fresh to both. And that sometimes is a very hard balance to strike. I did a video yesterday. I was doing a video on a battery for my solar channel, and I ran into exactly this problem where I had done a whole bunch of live streams and stuff based on open loop, closed loop, whether the batteries are connected or whatnot. And when I did that, I realized that a lot of my viewers, my longtime subscribers, would understand that because I had gone through and described it multiple times. But I also knew that someone new to the channel, someone new to DIY solar that didn't understand that, was going to need a quick exclamation of what that was, but without spending so much time that I offended the people that had already been there. So it is striking a balance sometimes that you need to do that. So uh, what are you doing wrong? My suggestion is make sure you stay focused, make sure that your videos are on subject, make sure that you're improving every time, and keep posting and let the algorithm have its time to figure it out. Sometimes this process, if the supply and demand is extremely heavy, you take off right away. They get lucky, they've got enough other personas out there that match yours, and everything goes fine. Sometimes this is a very, very difficult process. Sometimes it can take months and multiple videos to really get a hold of a good, strong audience and for YouTube to figure it out. It's amazing how AI sometimes can seem so intelligent and so smart, and then at other times it can seem so stupid and dumb. That said, next week, I do have the intentions of, on this channel, of how to use AI, specifically ChatGPT, to enhance your video making and to help you out. So don't forget to come back next week for that live stream. That one will be really, really interesting. I'm going to show you how I use it to help me with thumbnails, to help me with descriptions, to help me with tags, and all of the stuff that really needs to be done. ChatGPT is a perfect artificial intelligence to stand next to you and help you if you know how to use it correctly. So that's next week, though. Okay, let's move on to does changing my title or thumbnail after uploading hurt my video? Um, well, of course it can. If you've got a #1 video that's going viral and it's showing up everywhere and it's working, and you go in and change the title, sure, it can certainly hurt it. It can definitely do the opposite also. I've had multiple videos where, like we talked about on the first question, where after the first day it dies. And a lot of the times that will be because you'll look at it and you'll see you have a 1 or 2 or 3% click-through rate. And at that point, the title and the thumbnail are the cause of that. There is nothing that prevents people from clicking on a title other than it's simply not interesting to them. There's nothing there they want to see. Either the content isn't something they want to see, or it is a bad content where they don't think it's what they want to watch. So at that point, I almost methodically go through my videos and I run multiple thumbnail tests to make sure that I get 2 or 3 unique designs. And then from that, if I see that I don't have anything that's performing, then I'll throw them all away and completely replace them. So in that case, my thought is if a video has a 2% click-through rate, that a normal 4% or 5% is 2 to 2.5 times better. And I can't be any worse than 2%. So could it hurt it? It could if it's doing really well, but you wouldn't be wanting to change it if it was doing really well. So I'm assuming you're talking about if it's doing bad, should I change the thumbnail? And the answer is yes, I think you should change it. And no, I don't think it'll harm it. I think it could help. So that's my advice there is yes, go ahead and change it. Because no, I don't think it's going to hurt it as long as you aren't changing one that's already successful. Now, if you go out there and you got a 12% click through or 15% click through or 20% click through and you start playing with it, yes, it could hurt it. If I've got that and it's a #1 video or it's going viral, I don't touch it. I don't even breathe on it. Don't get near it. Leave it alone. Let it do its business. Next question is it better to post once a week or twice a month with higher quality? Um, a lot of this really depends more on your audience than anything. And you hear people talk about this all the time from a general perspective of post once a week, post twice a week, post every other day, post once a month, post once a week, blah, 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 blah. You'll hear 1,000 different answers. And it really comes down to the consumption rate of the people that you're trying to appeal to. So let's take, for example, this channel or any other YouTube growth channel. Most of the people who watch these videos are on a path forward where they're consuming product on a daily basis or at least on an every other daily basis, and they are able to consume a large amount of this content and to watch a larger amount of content. So some channel like this, I would say that you could post every day. If it's not too long, you could post every other day, even with longer 20, 30, 40-minute videos, and maybe even more, because the consumer thrives on the content. They're dedicated consumers. Now, if you're looking at a channel that talks about motorcycle repair, and those guys, they're working in a shop, they're a mechanic, they spend all their time working, and you may find that they simply don't have the time to consume more than one a week. And if you're releasing more than one a week, and they don't come back for them, they may only see the most recent, or they may see a list of, hey, Matt has 3 videos released in the past week, and they may open it up and only watch one of them, because once they've watched one, that's all they have time for. So it really depends. And now the real question is it better to post once a week or twice a month with higher quality? And the higher quality question is a real tricky question, and I want to point out posting quality is different to every person. You want to ensure that your video is of high enough quality that it isn't an embarrassment, but you don't want to go for perfection. So if you're saying, you're spending 5, 6, 7, 8 days editing and making everything just perfect before you release it, no, post every week. But if you're saying that the content, I do a couple of projects here that require me to do a large amount of testing and validating and putting of a project together over. I just finished one on a battery that was, a 6-day project where each day I had to perform some tests, and some of those tests took 6 and 8 hours a piece. And and then editing on top of that was, multiple time frames each day doing it. So it was a very time consuming video. And something like that is more than enough because the content is very elaborate. The reward for it is fantastic also, but the effort that goes into it. So the appropriate amount in both cases, the supply and demand needs to be met with the appropriate amount of for your niche. Go out and look at some of the others in your niche and determine how often are they posting, and do you see that the people that are posting in your niche more frequently than that have less views and are struggling compared to those people who give it time to soak and stuff like that. I will say I have noticed that if you post extremely rapidly. And what I mean by that, if I have 3 videos to post, if I post all 3 of them today, likely that 2 of them will get completely ignored by the algorithm and will be completely wiped off the slate. And my suspicion is that there are that first level of test, although YouTube promises that every video lives independently of its own volition. I feel that in that first 8, 10, 12, 24 hours, I don't know how big that window is. I call it, I use 24 hours as my safety net, that if I post more than one, the new one takes over from the old one. And therefore the test may be interrupted or cut short in order to honor the new video coming out. Therefore, if I post 3 videos, I get, one comes in and it starts the test, 2 comes in and throws one out of that window, because there's only so much inventory that they have to run these tests for us. And then the third one is coming in and it throws out the second one. Now, if they've got an abundance of inventory, you may run into it, get lucky and get where all 3 of them run, or where 2 or 3 of them run. My suggestion is that that you don't post more than every day. But I haven't tried backing that down to 12 hours, 18 hours, and see if there's any consistency there. I know that if you post a bunch at one time, though, you can get interruptions there. And I don't even remember the original question. Is it better to post once a week or twice a month with better quality? So the important thing here is to remember quality matters, but don't go so far as that it's delaying everything that you do. Get the video out, make an effort to get better at every single video you put out, and know that if you're putting out 1 video a week, you're going to improve 52 items every year anyway. So get the video out, get on it, move on to the next one, get the algorithm to start building your persona, and stay on target and niche, and you should be fine. All right. Next question, Danielle from Ohio writes, should I focus on shorts or longs for fast growth in 2025? Well, this is a, a good question. Um, Shorts and long viewers, in my mind, are 2 different people, but I have found a successful way to use shorts to attract long viewers, and that is to keep your shorts to, over a minute, and give some real valuable details and a fishing hook to go into something bigger. Don't hide information, give them all the information they need, but imply that there is more to the realm that you're talking about. For example, if you're talking about a blanket, you may talk about the blanket, how big the blanket is, what beds it fits on, how you've used it and everything. But imply, in another video, you've got 10 different ways that this blanket can be used also that are even better than the one you've talked about here. Now you've given good quality information in your short, which means your short will get likes and stuff, but at the same time, they have every incentive to move on to a long form video. I've also found that shorts over a minute have a tendency to um, uh, weed out those short viewers. Now, if you're after short viewers, you can go 15, 20, 30 seconds, and that's not a problem. If you're after long-term videos and you're only using shorts for growth, I suggest you keep your shorts to a longer form of shorts, being over in excess of a minute, to weed that out. Moving on to the next question is, Not sure if this is a dumb question. Not sure if this is a dumb question, writes Brian. Do hashtags actually help in YouTube? You know, I honestly, I don't know. I always populate them. I always use them. I came from, the engineering and the computer side of things. So for me, I do everything I can to help, at least initially here while I'm building a channel. I do everything I can to help the algorithm understand what my content is about. I'm very selective in the hashtags that I put in to make sure that they truly match the content exactly. And then I'm not just putting a bunch of, hey, this will get traffic hashtags. You need to actually have real selective hashtags and limit that number to the top 5 or 10. This is where next week's video based on chat gpt and AI can help you with that. They can dig into some of the analytics behind you and save you some time there. Also vidIQ down in the link down below. If you get vidIQ, it'll add content to your screen. It'll make it very easy for you to look at the hashtags and inspect them and see how they're working. So those types of tools can help that go easy. But here at the beginning, the question is about hashtags. Do they help? I do tag in keywords and hashtags on all of my videos. I do cheat and use AI to help me, to assist me in finding the right ones. So, but I think yes, but I don't know that to be true. I have no evidence to back it up at this point, other than maybe it's a legacy item that was added prior to AI, where they could actually transcript everything that you write and look at your true transcript. And maybe they're still using it. So I don't know, but I would go ahead and do it at this point anyway. And if you're having problems doing it, you certainly want to join me next week when I go over AI, because they will make it easy to help you get those defined. Olivia S says, what is the best way to get the first 1,000 subscribers? There's a lot of different techniques here. My personal favorite technique on this, and I'm going to tell you, it is by far not the only one. There are a lot of other ideas, and I'll go through a few of them, but I'm going to tell you my personal favorite. My personal favorite, I like long form videos. I am not a shorts person, short of using them to help with this explicitly with this question. It helps me expand my role because of the way they show up in my homepage and stuff. I think there is an opportunity to use them to attract long-form videos, even though I strongly believe that that shorts watchers are a different beast. I also believe that long-term watchers, based on the stats that you see on that YouTube provides, that a majority of people watch both, and that's because of the way they've designed their pages. So the question is what is the best way to get the first 1,000 subscribers? To be honest with you, my answer is don't worry about subscribers. Focus on watch hours. Focus explicitly on watch hours. But that said, you're going to be looking to get subscribers in order to get those watch hours. And what you want to do is you don't want just subscribers. You don't want Bob down the street that isn't the right persona, isn't the right person to watch it. You want explicitly those people that are going to watch your content every time it comes out. And so you need to make sure that any shorts that you design or any long form videos that you design are very narrowly designed. And I'll tell you how I did this. I started with, in my solar channel, I started with very explicit data around basic solar systems and how to build a basic solar system. And then I would build shorts that are over a minute that emphasized all the content that I put into this long video, but didn't give all the details behind it. So if someone is interested in this content and watches long form videos and sees that short feed on their homepage, which I don't know if I can show you that. Let's just see if I can. Yeah, so let's do this. So if I see if I can just switch this over to this view. Excuse my clunkiness while I go through this. Okay, so this is a YouTube homepage, and I'm hoping this is showing up the way I think it is, and it does look like it is. This is a YouTube homepage. And so when I go to my homepage, it starts off by showing me some content that I've watched priorly up here, but immediately it goes into a row of shorts. Now, most people don't change the default settings, so this row of shorts exists on everybody's page, whether they're a long form or a short term viewer. Now, if this is something that you're interested in, like this one here, then what's going to happen is you're going to hold your mouse over it and you're going to take a look at it. So, from my perspective, going into those shorts that I'm talking about, making them 1 minute long, make the first 5 or 6 seconds of this short really sell this video quietly where no one has to look at it. Then all of the content for long term shows up down here. But in this particular case, as you can see, there's Rob, and they are going to, and there's hey, that's interesting. And you can see here, this is a video from Brooke, and I'm going to pause this, but you can see here that, she's got 52 views. It shows you the history. This is a vidIQ edition. So if you're interested in vidIQ, there is a link down below, but it'll show you the stats on all the different videos as you go through them. But I think it's important to have the longer form ones here because everyone sees them, and it's an opportunity to attract really the right people that aren't really interested in shorts, but the content is so engaging and it's right in front of their face and it's very quick and easy. You may find that it's easy to get viewers from this. I caution you that if you're getting a lot of subscribers through this, that you're making sure that that content matches your other content exactly, and that you don't make the shorts just too short. Because if you make the shorts too short, what will happen is that you will if you make the shorts too short, you'll get a bunch of views, but you won't get a whole bunch of subscriptions out of it, and that's not going to do any of you any good. Other methods that use it is Brooke, and the reason I was kind of surprised to see Brooke there is she uses it quite differently, the shorts. And if you're not subscribing to her channel, I suggest you subscribe to her channel and go ask her about her technique of using shorts, because she has a completely different technique that works very well for her, and it's not the same as mine. Mine is force the umbrella of those people in there, and she does a broader implementation. There's probably less effort involved than mine, but it does work. Number 11, Mark in Georgia asks, should I make trending content or evergreen? Yes, 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 and if you hear any thinking in my mind, yes, yes again. Um, both trending content and evergreening content are important for two different reasons. One, the trending content, you're looking for something that's popular right now, that's going to emphasize your niche when you're getting started. That's where the inventory that we talked about earlier is available on YouTube. Excuse me. And so building trending content not only has the potential to go viral on one hand, but it's also most likely that content that has gone viral or that is popular among other people, meaning there's a pool of inventory we've all constructed together. And now we're all able to share it and share users and share viewers and share interest about it. So that is a very good way to get likes. The second part of this question is evergreening. Evergreening is important, but it's important for a different thing. In my opinion, the evergreening content should be scattered out your feed constantly. You should make an effort to make an evergreening once a month, at the absolute minimum, would I say. And then when you run out of ideas and you get 12 months into your channel and you run out of ideas, you should go back and redo evergreening. So for example, let me explain evergreening. An evergreening content for, let's say, this channel might be a how to use the YouTube website to sign up, put in your name, build a channel, what approvals you need, put in your descriptions, all your keywords and everything. That would be a great evergreening content, because forever new users that are looking for a way to get onto YouTube are going to find that content through searches, and they're going to want to use that content. So it automatically renews itself by finding new users that show up for YouTube, new users that have never been on YouTube, or new users that are just getting interested in the subject and go looking for it on YouTube. So it forever gets a certain amount of views and has a constant stream of people watching it every day, every hour, and it just goes on and on and on and on forever. It may not ever just boom explode, but it could have a trajectory of, let's say 100 views a day for a year. Well, at the end of 100 views a day for a year, you're going to have 300, yeah, you're going to have 336,000 views. So it's still a variation of what I call viral, but it's very niched to something that is always going to be useful. The nice thing about evergreening is those that are extremely successful are going to need to be refreshed. And I would say that that video itself, once a year or every time that YouTube goes in and changes the way it works, or changes the sign up form, or changes enough that evergreening video needs to be remade. In my DIY solar channel, I have one about how to build a basic solar system and what it costs. But prices change, the industry changes, the batteries change, the capacities change, the expectations of what they're building change. And that video needs to be rebuilt practically every 3 or 4 months. But yet every one of them, they live on forever. They go on and evergreen themselves. So absolutely, I would build both of them, and I would make a conscious effort to not just build one or the other, but to do them both. I'm getting impressions, but no clicks. How do I fix my CTR? Thumbnail and description. Focus your efforts on thumbnail and description. And I'm gonna take you over and show you on the other screen, pardon my switch over here, that we are going to go to vidIQ, and let me give you an idea of some of the tools that vidIQ has. So in addition to it giving you ideas to build, which can be very trendy, you can also use it to help you create thumbnails. And next week in the AI chat GPT, I'll show you how you can get even more, but you can see the video that I've got coming out later on today. This is what I use to build it. And you can take the description. So this will build good thumbnails for you. Say you want something with um, like a chart showing percents going up and frustrated face on the side of page, something along those lines. So you can give it ideas of what you want, and then you can attempt to spell everything right. It's not too particularly picky, but then it's going to go out and generate them for you. And the more details and the more description and colors and things that you mention in this description, and as you can see, it leaves the thing here. And so you can see here, all three of them match that description of what I asked for: a chart going up and a frustrated guy in the very first one. The second two didn't really put the frustrated picture, but you'll see that it builds variations of that, and then you can add to it. You can say, hey, I want you to use my face, so I want you to use this frustrated face here, and you can tell it to go again, and it will build yet another thumbnail for you based on that. You can also go in and add text to it if you decide there's something special that you need. But the what I'm getting at here, and you can see these are awesomely contrasted videos. They basically work really well, but you can see that the original question was talking about, am I getting impressions, but I'm the click through. So first, start by focusing on your thumbnails and have them tell a story without. I like to limit the number of words to under 2 or 3. Get to where the picture tells the story without you needing to say anything, and then use the description to kind of lead them into Well, what about, ask, make them think, well, yeah, why? And if you can do that, then you'll start getting some click-through rates. But it's always the thumbnail and the description that's the click-through rate. You could have, and I say always, and I want to point out that always doesn't necessarily mean always, but you could have just content that nobody's interested in. We go back to earlier before. If you're building content based on 8 millimeter, nuts that only turn counterclockwise, there's going to be a very few people that are interested in that, regardless of how good the thumbnail and a matter of fact, the better the thumbnail and the description, the less likely they are going to be interested in it. So as you can see, there is a balance here, but my likely answer is that your thumbnail and your description aren't really attracting the getting enough interest from the people that are interested. And then that would lead me to the next question. Have you posted enough videos that YouTube is showing them to the right people? So if you haven't been posting for, 10 or 12 videos in content out there, then really YouTube doesn't know who you are yet. And that's something that will change as you post more content. So keep going, because your transcripts are also being used by YouTube to help you find that niche and to find that group. Okay, next question is just a click away. Do I need to be on camera to grow a YouTube channel? No, you don't need to, Alex. But it helps. People like to associate with someone else. They like to get their advice and trust other people. If that's something that's very difficult for you, which it is for a lot of people, I suggest that you work on it and make that work towards it. Start off without it. Start using yourself in small ways. What you'll find out is, many years ago I worked with a guy when I was doing some YouTube for a game, and he refused to put himself in the videos. And I convinced him that I don't know what you think the problem is, but the rest of us won't see that. There's millions of people in this world. We see them all over the place. Why would anyone have a problem with you specifically? So I encourage you just to go out and do it, regardless of there. Believe it or not, there are people that aren't only afraid of showing their face, but showing their voice, and they want to use voiceovers of other voices and alter that and stuff like that. My suggestion is just do it and don't worry about it. I know that's not as easily. It's easy for me to say because it doesn't bother me, but there are people that it does bother. So hopefully you can get over that. But it does help, but it's absolutely not necessary. There are tons of channels that are successful without it. All right, looking at Jordan in New York says, is YouTube still worth starting in 2025? Oh, absolutely. I was just watching a video, and the the announcer there was talking about this explicitly. This question: YouTube is set to grow about 21% over the next 5 years straight. The 21% growth rate every single year is going to make us content creators very happy, because we have a huge pool of people, and the pool is getting bigger and bigger and bigger every year. Not only that, but it's already one of the largest content providers in the world, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So yes, 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 and yes. Is YouTube still worth starting? Absolutely, in 2025. Matter of fact, get on the gravy train soon so that you can be part of the big growth spurt that's coming up. All right, Emily, should I delete old videos that did not perform well? No, absolutely not. You should never delete an old video unless there is something that is completely inaccurate in it that's going to cause harm or trouble for someone. I'm a firm believer in your old content. You never know when it's going to explode. Believe it or not, some of my first videos, as painful as they are to go back and watch, they are also those that people that come to watch you in the future will go back and say, where did they get this start? And see that you've also gone through the paces and done your effort and learned to do it and gotten better and grow. And people want to see that. That brings real personality to your videos, into your channel, and gives them trust in you. And actually it shows that you're a person, not a robot, they're not manufactured AI videos that are always just perfectly peachy keen. That you're a real person. And so no, I would say do not ever, for that for the purposes of getting rid of it because they don't perform well, no, don't change a thing. Leave them out there, especially if they fit well within your persona and your niche. Do some of my videos get views and others totally flop? Why? Uh, it This is the $6 million question, and I'm going to explain it in a couple of ways. One, the first real explanation behind this is that you've got to remember when your video releases, you're competing against all other content that is currently being offered. So it's not just your video competing. The statistics they show you is your video versus all your other videos, because that's all they really can show you, because the rest of the world is so large that it's very difficult to say, you know, how you do compared to everyone else, because it all depends on viewers, location, time of day. I mean, there's 1,000 different elements in there. So why do some do successful and some fail? Well, content obviously is leaving out content. Let's say that you release the same video one day and then the next day you release exactly the same video, exactly the same title, exactly the same content, and nothing has changed and one is successful. It happens all the time. But you've got to remember that a lot of the times when things go viral, it's because of all the stuff around it. For example, let's say you sell ice cream and you are located on the beach day one, and you go out there and you just have a line out the door. You're selling ice cream. Just every time you sell ice cream, you give one to the next person. You think, I'm going back to that beach tomorrow. But you go back the next day and it's raining and you sell no ice cream, and you're thinking, well, I did exactly the same thing. Why would today be any different than yesterday? Because the ice cream may not have changed, but the world around it did. Now, it's very easy to see that it's raining. And on that note, we'll change it. Since you're on the beach, we're going to change it to beach. So it's easy to say on the beach to say, hey, it's raining, and to realize that it's raining. But it's not in the world of YouTube to recognize that 10 of your competitors released a video also, and they simply have no way of showing your video enough that it can get a click over the other 10 pieces of content that people are subscribed to and they know they want to watch because they have a proven track record. Now, if one of them releases it and it gets them to log on and they watch that video and they want some additional content and yours pops up because of it, now all of a sudden you start getting views. So the environment is more an impact on the videos than sometimes the content itself. And so it's known that that content isn't going to functionally be the same every day. No matter what you do, there's too many elements, just like selling ice cream on the thing. You could go back the third day to sell ice cream on the beach and it could be dead. And you're like, but it's sunny today, it's not raining, so I thought it was raining, and so that's why I thought my ice cream wasn't selling. And then you find out that there was, a celebration down the beach of dogs surfing, and there was 10 million people coming to view that over the next, that it was the final day of that, and 10 million people had been there the last month, and that was their last day, so everybody was on the beach looking for dog surfing. This is what I mean by the environment around you changes so much that it's hard to say, why do some videos work one day and then others totally flop. There are too many elements to answer that question. But likely, if it's not content, it's environment. And the idea there is that leave the content there. Eventually, it will catch. And when it does, you may find out that that video comes alive a month later or 2 months later. So if the content's good, eventually YouTube will get around to it when it has the appropriate amount of um, um, inventory and it has the right circumstances to make it work. Number 17, Mika, Mia. Do likes and comments help with the algorithm anymore? You know, I've got mixed answers on this, and I honestly don't know. My suggestion, my thought is that yes, comments matter because they show interest in the video and people are coming and going. Likes and dislikes have, in my mind, have really become a thing of, please don't show this on my feed anymore, more so than I like this video. So my suspicion is if the algorithm's smart, it's probably taking the likes into account, saying those that aren't subscribed like this, and therefore they should, and those that are subscribed like it, and then throwing out the dislikes, using that as a filter to say, hey, please don't give me any more of this content. So is it or is it not? I honestly, I don't know. My suspicion is that likes don't count and comments definitely do. Steve says or asks, how do I figure out what kind of content my audience actually wants? Actually, you know, this is a really good question, and I've got a pretty good answer for you because it happened to me on my solar channel when I first started. I put out a couple of videos really not knowing what I was doing. I mean, some of my first videos, I mean, one of my first videos is a camera pointing down and a couple of battery cells on the floor and me running a meter across them. And I really didn't have any intentions of starting a channel. It really wasn't the launch of a channel. I put it out there because I wanted to show somebody how I had measured them, not because I wanted to start a YouTube channel. Um, and when I did it, I started getting feedback. So my answer to you for this question is pay very close attention to the feedback. Start posting videos, but pay attention to the feedback. Stay on your niche, but pay attention to the feedback. So for example, when someone posts a video and they start asking you, well, what about this and what about that? And you see that question from one or two people. I'll give you a perfect example. In the solar world, I got a really good deal on some solar panels, and I said, you know, I built this, I put a bunch of these solar panels on a solar shed, and I only spent $180. And it went berserk. You know, people going crazy, going, oh my gosh. And I even tagged and pinned at the very top a video pointing to directions on how I got the solar, how I found the solar panel. But I still get every day multiple requests for, how did you find $15 solar panels? How did you find $15 solar panels? And when you see questions like that, before I had made the video, my answer to your question, which is, how do I figure out? That's how you figure it out. You pay attention to feedback like that and you make a video about it. So that's exactly what I did. I went out and I made an 8 or 10-minute video that outlined exactly the process I went through, how I located. And to be honest with you, I didn't do it for the sake of getting a bunch of views or anything like that. I did it for the sake of being able to say, well, here's the answer to that question. So when they ask it 87 times, that I have a link to just say, here, go look over here, instead of me trying to type in every time something that I'm not going to be able to fix and fit in that little bitty text box. So I gave them that, and it uh, and that solved the problem. And that allowed, and yes, Bob online, I see your comment. Yes, it did make a difference in views of that video, because what happens is then other people see that comment and they start responding to it also. So it's nothing special there, but yeah, it does make a huge difference in your feedback. I have since pinned that to the very top, but I still get the question multiple times a day. So to answer your question outright, how do you figure out? Pay attention to your audience of what they ask them for feedback, and when they give it to you, go out, respond to them, talk to them, and figure out what they're trying to get. I had another one yesterday that asked me about a device I built to help them measure power, and they asked, how do you connect it up? So instead of me just giving them some random thing, I went out and created a minute and 15 minute 1 minute and 15 second short that explained how to hook it up and then linked to the main video of how to build it. So that's how you figure out what your viewers want. um, Vanessa from Michigan says, how long does it really take to get monetized? Vanessa, that is a loaded question. Let's talk about in the miracle world. My solar channel is extremely popular. It's taken me 3 months. I actually monetize tomorrow morning. Um, this channel, it has a lot more competition. It's a lot more competitive market. In my mind, I enjoy this aspect of it more. So I'm not looking for any short-term solutions. I'm looking for good content on a long-term basis. So I figure this one will probably take me a lot longer. I've seen people take as long as a year or 2 years to get monetized. And a lot of it depends on your schedule, how aggressive you are, how much attention you're paying to all of the details of how often to post, making sure that the content stays on niche. There's 1,000 different variables in there. And then a lot of coaches can also, uh, kind of give you idea based on what you're doing on what kind of growth you've got, on what it would actually take for you to get there and how long it's going to be. I go in and play with the numbers on my channel and determine when it's going to happen and look at some of the statistics and stuff. But it really depends on the channel. I would suggest that most people should look at 1 to 2 years before they could count on being monetized. And that means that you're not looking at subscribers. If you're focusing on subscribers, you're focusing on the wrong problem. You're going to get your subscribers eventually just from pure repetition, and 1 or 2 subscribers here, 1 or 2 subscribers there. It'll eventually add up to 1,000. What you really need to pay attention to is your watch time, and trying to increase your daily watch time every week. Go up a little bit. Build videos that people want to watch longer. Build videos that they want to watch for, that their retention is better. Build the quality in there. And if you pay attention to watch time, long before you get to the 4,000 hours, you will have 1,000 subscribers very easily. Does uploading at the same time every week make a difference? Um, there's actually a couple of analytical tools around this, and I think I could probably show you one. Let me just see if I can get to it here real quick. Um, nope, I cannot. In the YouTube Studio, unfortunately, I can't switch right now because if I switch, it will break the live stream. I'll have to figure out a way around that. But in the YouTube Studio, there is under a retention. If you go to the channels retention, you can see the. Let's just see here. Let me see where it is. I don't know if I can do it under this account because I don't think, like a lot of you may not have enough retention yet to determine if you have. Um, so you go into analytics, and then under audience, there is a section that says what your audience watches, what channels your audience watch, format of videos, when your viewers are on YouTube. That's what you're looking for. I will show you where the box is, but mine will probably say what a lot of yours say also. So if you switch to this screen here, if you go into analytics and you come down to when viewers are on YouTube, this box is what you're looking for, and it will basically be populated with a chart that tells you how many viewers, when they're on. You want to look for the bright green spots and post in the first hour of the bright green. That way you have that extended period during there. If you don't have that, vidIQ can also show you, and I'm not sure if I can remember exactly where it is, but I can certainly try here real quick to hunt it down. Let me think. It's under, I think it's under research, subscribers. Yeah. So research subscribers under vidIQ, the best times to post, and it will highlight the bigger bulky areas of when to post. So as you can see, I have different times for different days, and you can kind of get an idea here. So Saturday would be between 9 and 12, and then Sunday 9 and 12, Monday 9 and 12, There we go. So Wednesday would be 3 p.m. as opposed to 9 and 12. So there are some different times during the week. It looks like I've got two, between 9 and 12 a.m. is most of them, but Wednesday and Friday are different times for me. Wednesday's 3 p.m. and Friday is 6 p.m. And then every other day of the week is 9 to 12. So you can get that from vidIQ if it doesn't show up already in your YouTube channel here under viewer when viewers are online. But it and hopefully that answers the question of, is uploading at the same time every week make a difference? As far as uploading, like, to be consistent, I upload at 9 o'clock every Saturday. No, I don't think it makes any difference. What's important is that your that your videos stay consistent within context of your subscribers, within the niche of your group. Is it important that you post on a regular schedule? Yes, but does it matter if it's exactly 9 o'clock? No. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, you can shift it around a little bit to fit the need of that day and to fit your need of your schedule. Um, what what are good video structures to keep people watching? Uh, Good video structures follow a good layout of, spend the first 30 seconds or so giving them confirmation that what they've clicked on is what you're going to show them. I usually do a flashback of, or a flash into the video that's up and coming. So, for example, if I'm building a video on a battery breakdown, I may show the battery, say, okay, I'm going to give you a box opening of the battery, and I would show, me peeling it back in the box, pulling it out of the box. And while I'm talking, and use my intro as a voiceover, or have different windows showing up within it to basically highlight different aspects of the video and confirm that what they clicked on to see that battery review is what they're going to get. So, that first 15, 20 seconds, and I like to give it 15 or 20 seconds, is that first 15 or 20 seconds, flood them with, here's what you're going to see. And then I break down into the different areas of that video and show each one of them in more detail. And usually I have a DIY or a step-by-step area that's the second or the third, sometimes the fourth step in my video. But coming up with that video, and this is where ChatGPT can be very helpful. And next week, if you aren't familiar with it, that would be something that would be very useful for you. If I do not make a video about it this week, then I would suggest that you come for the live stream next week on ChatGPT, because it'll show you how you can use ChatGPT to help you do exactly that and get a breakdown of what video format works best in your niche. All right, we still got a few questions here. I think there's 25 in this bucket. Chris from Nevada asks, do I need a script or should I just talk naturally? Um, unless you are a newscaster who reads from a teleprompter type thing all the time, um, I'm a firm believer in naturally. You know what? You make more mistakes, you say more stupid things. Sometimes it costs you a little bit more editing. It also creates a wonderful bloopers reel for later. Um, but I'm a firm believer in, people want genuineness. They want real people talking behind the scenes, and it makes you appear more knowledgeable, believe it or not, at what you're thinking. I mean, remember the last time you watched something on YouTube and it was this robot giving you facts and details in the quickest 20, 30 seconds that you ever had, or you had that person who kind of fumbled through and kind of said, yeah, and I did this and I did that, and said a few things that are a little quirky and stuff like that. To me, I think the realism is better. Is it? Right now, the trend appears to be going that way on YouTube, is that people prefer the unedited, the unvarnished, the real people behind the scenes, the real creators like us, to come out and show them what we're really made of. And maybe this is to get rid of the, maybe people feel like they're being scammed because people are editing up everything to make it look perfect when they really don't even know what they're talking about. Maybe there's something else behind that. For me, I like the natural. I like the long form. I like the definition. I also like to go back and cut out some of the fluff. I have a tendency to gab on a little bit sometimes when it's not necessary. So I'll cut some of that out. But if I make a, 25-minute video, I may record 50, 60, 70 minutes of content, and it may trim back to 25 minutes. If I find pieces that are extremely important, I leave them in. If they are not important, then I cut them out. But at the same time, I don't cut out so much that I'm not a real person, and a lot of the times I try not to cut out anything. And some of the step-by-step ones, that's a little bit more difficult. In videos like this, I almost always go unedited. It's very rare that you'll see a cut and a change from that. I think that this type of content creation, people like you want the real story. You want me to explain to you what I'm doing and talk to you, like we're standing there next to each other talking to you. And that I wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't want anyone to explain things to me any other way. So I want to make sure that you get what you need and that you understand what I'm saying. And I can't do that in all cut up little pieces. Yeah, I can relay what I'm thinking, but I can't give that, and I don't know what it is. I can't give that face to face, build that relationship that I want to build. I don't just want to be here to tell you how to do things. I want to be a partner in it. I want to come along for the ride. I want us to all, all rising tide brings everybody up, and that's what I want. I don't even remember the question. So no, talk naturally would be my opinion, but not everyone can do that. So a lot of the times I will start with, I'll take a notepad like this, and I will start with like um, a bullet point list of what I want to talk about. Like yesterday, I did a thing on a battery, and I just broke down the timeline here, and then I filled in all the gaps of this timeline naturally. But I didn't want to miss any of the key gaps because they were percentages and growth and reporting. So I'll usually build some kind of checklist, a bullet point. I know that I've seen other people who have index cards and they write just 3 or 4 bullet points on there. I've seen others, they tape to their camera or right below their camera a couple of bullet points. That's what I suggest you do. I suggest you avoid using the teleprompter. I suggest you avoid using a script. Um, that makes building some of your intros more interesting. There are times when I can build the whole video in an hour, and then it takes me 3 hours to build an intro, because the intro really does, in my mind, really does need to be where a lot of effort is put on, to where if you're going to obsess about something being right, obsess about it being in the intro, because that's the first impressions mean a lot in this business. And if you can't get them to watch for 30 seconds, they certainly aren't going to see the other 29 minutes of your video. 23, Sam T asks, what is a good average retention rate to aim for? Sam, this is a wonderful question, and I have been analyzing this, and I am learning that different content has different answers. And I'm going to give you 2 answers, and then I'm going to let you determine what kind of content you have and what the answer should be there. And maybe ChatGPT or some other AI can give you a real answer for your specific niche. In my solar channel, my retention is usually around 4 minutes per video. So if I put out a video, I usually aim to get them over 4 minutes. Now, I have gone through great efforts in the last month to bring that from 2 minutes up to 4 minutes, because my knowing now that it's nothing about subscribers. It's about watch time and consistently building the watch time. And if you're interested in monetizing, it's about keeping them online past this first ad at 4 minutes, the second ad at 8 minutes, and so on and so forth. And for those of you who don't know, the way when it gets monetized and the advertising dollars comes from running ads, and YouTube's going to give you a percentage of the ads that they sell, and they're going to put one at the very beginning, and they're going to put one at the end. Now, if your video is long enough to put a commercial in the middle, just like TV or any other media, then they will pay you for that also. That happens to be every 4 minutes. So if you've got an 8 minute, or let's say a 7 minute video, then the viewer watches the entire thing. You'll get paid for the first video, you'll get paid for the end video, and you'll get paid for one 4 minute video in the middle, approximately around 4 minutes. If you've got a 14-minute video, then you would hit the start, the end, one at 4, one at 8, and one at 12. So you could potentially hit 5 commercials and get paid for all 5 if they watch them. There's different types of commercials. There's commercials that you get paid for based on they are non-skip commercials, and then there are skip commercials, and they different rates and so on and so forth. And then, of course, there are paid subscribers to YouTube. You also get refunded by that. That's a little bit different. They're all put into a pool, and based on the amount of time and stuff, they split that up and divvy that up on the people who earn the most time from those. So all of them, and they pay that very similar to what they pay with Shorts. It's all put into a pool. The pool of time, I don't know if Shorts is based on time or if it's based on views, but it's divvied up and split up based on the percentage of your contribution to the effort to that pool. So there's those 3 different ways to get paid for them, in addition to the AdSense, which is just basically little banner ads and stuff that get placed on the page and the money you make off of that. So there's a lot of different options there, but those aren't necessarily the only ways to monetize either. I mean, keep in mind that monetizing um, with a smaller channel is way easier to do without waiting for YouTube to get to 1,000 subscribers. All right, where am I at? I've lost my page here. All right, so the next question is hidden. There it is. Angela in Colorado says, why do people unsubscribe after I upload? Well, the most common thing that I've seen in this, and I've seen it happen a couple of times to me, and I imagine it happens a lot to some people and less to others. So, a lot of the times what I'll do is I'll hit the subscribe button just because I'm afraid I'm going to lose where this person was. And they've got a video that I'm interested in, and I hit subscribe. And then the next video they publish is out in left field. Has nothing to do with why I subscribed or what I was interested in going back and watch. And I almost immediately hit the unsubscribe button. And think about it. You've probably done the same thing, where you think you're subscribing to, how to fix your RV, and because he's got a video about how to, replace the door seal in your RV, and then the next video he publishes is about his trip to Hawaii, or something along those lines. It's completely unrelated. That's usually the largest reason I've seen that. I've also noticed that sometimes when you're approaching certain milestones, and maybe it's because I'm watching when I'm approaching certain milestones. So let's say that you're approaching 500 subscribers. You'll notice that when you get into the 490 zone, that sometimes things start going backwards. YouTube has a very intelligent way of getting rid of bots and stuff like that. So a lot of the times the bots will come online, they'll like a bunch of things, and they're constantly in a battle with YouTube, and YouTube will remove them aggressively. And good for them, we don't need the bots. So a lot of the times you will also see the bots disappear in batches, where you'll get 499, and then you'll see your subscriber rate drop to 496, and you're like, well, wait, what happened? I just went backwards 3. A lot of the times they were never really there. They were bots. They were fake. They were not real legitimate subscribers. The original question, though, why do people unsubscribe after I upload? So if it's a real person, I suspect it's because your niche is so broad that you just either offend them, or they decided that they didn't want the content, or they used it to save it to show it to somebody else, and now they're undoing what they did there. Don't take offense to it. There are 1,000 different reasons they can disappear, from bots to fraud to parents getting on, and their kids have subscribed to a dozen things that they don't want anything to do with, to all kinds of things. Don't take offense to it. Take the good with the bad. The fact is, it's a small percentage of that go away afterwards. I haven't seen it in abundance. I do see it when I'm approaching milestones more oftenly, when I'm getting close to 1,000, if I'm getting close to 2,000, if I'm getting close to 5,000 subscribers, I notice it then. I don't know if that's because I'm actually watching, or if that's because they or if that's because they um, they actually emphasize it then so that you don't get to the milestone and be disappointed when it goes backwards. Um, so either way, doesn't make any difference, but that's usually why it happens. It looks like we got one more in the kitty here. Trevor R asked, how many videos does it usually take to see real growth? Around 100. It's a pretty simple number. It's a nice round number. It usually takes around 100 videos to get there. That's why I suggest when you first start, don't get discouraged. Be on target. Be very focused on your niche. Pay very close attention to what the viewers on that niche are asking you for. Create content that leads the content from one phase to the next phase appropriately. And let me give you an example of what I mean by that. A lot of people will go out and say, okay, I'm going to build a blanket, a channel based on RVs, and then the one will be a traveling one, and one will be about a repair, and one will be about where to go park, and one will be so on and so forth. And what I mean by that is, if you really want your niche to really focus, have them lead from one to another. Example of that would be either do all repairs for a while and lead that audience that subscribe to video one to something that's very similar in nature in video two and very similar in nature in video three, and lead them in a big circle around the content and slowly away from where they started and back to where they came. And what I mean by that is, if you do a repair on a door, then what you might do is the next time is something that talks about how to find other things that need to be repaired, or a place where you can get parts to make your repairs cheaper, or tools that help with repairs. And you can change. Now you've changed to the tool subject, and you can slowly lead into another subject. But what it does is it reinforces those subscribers that just joined that the up and coming content is also going to be of equal importance to the past content. There is nothing that gets me to unsubscribe faster from a channel than to subscribe to a channel one day because I saw something about um, resistance in a light bulb, and so I liked it because I thought it was a cool electrical, teaching me some electrical stuff. And the next day I log in and there's a video about, you know, how to um, how to smash a clock with a hammer or something. I'm instantly gone. So that's really what this is about. How many videos does it take? It takes about 100, but it takes about 100 down a good path, solidly relate one to another, string them together. Think of it as string. Think of it as YouTube string theory. Video one needs to be connected to video two through a string, and where you can follow the string in a large circle leading back to the beginning, maybe a year from now, where your evergreening content that's along this path can be renewed and all the other content can be different content, but still acceptably within margins related. That's my suggestion on that one. Okay. Um, that is all the questions for today. And the only other one that I see online that is here was, how about AI, and when is that going to happen? And the AI is, I'm not sure yet if I'm going to do this in a video, an independent video coming out, or if I'm going to do it in next week's live stream. I'll make that decision here in the next day or two, and you'll either see a video or you'll see a live stream pop up. So make sure that if this content was useful for you, make sure you like the video for me. And if you want to see more, then hit the subscribe button. If you don't feel that I earned the subscription, that's great. Come back, watch another video. Maybe I'll earn it then. Thanks for watching. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next time.